Hey, if you've ever listened to our show and thought to yourself, I think I want to make a podcast, but I don't know where to start, start with Anchor. Anchor is a platform that has all the tools you need to record and edit your podcast, right from your phone or computer. Using Anchor allows you to distribute your show to platforms such as Spotify, Apple, Google, and so many others. The best part is that it's totally free. So if you want to get started, you can download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm.
Hello and welcome to the Bandwagon Fans. This is Katé.
And I'm Natalia.
And we are here to tell you all your entertainment, movie, TV, and music news. Welcome to today's episode. How are you, Natalia?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I am here in Los Angeles this week, visiting Alex, and also doing some girlfriend activities, doing some like hot girl end of summer in LA activities, and then partly here honestly for some music stuff. I saw Remy Wolf in concert on this past weekend.
Ooh.
And then this upcoming weekend I'm seeing another band called the Avalanches. So I get a music packed weekend.
Wow.
What are you up to?
Well, nothing nearly as exciting or glamorous. I've just been spending most of my days working at Starbucks.
Hey, the world needs coffee.
Honestly, they do, especially now in pumpkin spice season.
Oh, yes.
In full swing, I've got my hands full with that pumpkin spice.
You have one pumpkin in one hand and coffee in the other.
Yeah.
How many pumpkin spice lattes a day do you think you make?
Well, okay. To be fair, right now it's still a little warm out, so I have to say the best seller right now is the pumpkin cream cold brew.
Ooh.
I think I spend most of my day making the pumpkin cream cold foam. Like I just
making foam all
I'm
day.
just making the foam, and then I rinse the blender, and then I do it again. And it's
my God.
All day.
Dang. I need to try that drink.
Honestly, I think you should try it. It can be good, but don't get it every day or else you're going to get sick of pumpkin. I don't know how some people do it every day.
I don't know either. It's actually funny that you say that. A friend of mine recently told me that their boss told them that they spend about $160 a month on coffee because they get it from Starbucks, but they get it delivered through Postmates. And this person apparently orders like venti double shot extra vanilla caramel, like people like a drink like that's already going to be like $8, but then on top of that getting it delivered plus tax and tip for the driver and everything. And I know that's crazy, but I don't know, people will pay big money to get their drink.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Could never be me.
No, never me.
We're going to need to make a lot more podcast episodes before we can afford that.
Yeah. I think we need to make 100. If we make, here's the math, 100 podcast episodes subtracted by 400 pumpkin spice cold brews equals Natalia and I making $10 each to buy a latte.
Yep. That sounds accurate. Right.
Speaking of math and getting things right and wrong,
oh my God,
Natalia and I have a little story to present before we discuss what our topic is. It leads into our topic. Natalia, do you want to explain what we got wrong?
Well, I don't know if we can't read or if we don't know how calendars work. I don't know what went wrong. Or maybe we just have, I don't know. This is a real Mandela effect, honestly.
Or glitch in the system.
We totally were planning this episode to commemorate a release date of a certain something that we're going to talk about today. And we totally thought that you were going to be hearing this episode on the anniversary. But then we just looked it up, and the anniversary was
Has
apparently
changed.
4 days off.
Hmm.
So Katé tells me this, and I'm like, no, that can't be right. So then I Google it, and then I get a totally separate third date.
Mhm.
And so we honestly have no idea when the actual anniversary is, but you're going to hear the episode today.
And you're gonna realize that it doesn't really matter what day it came out. And you honestly, we may never know until the band says the word, but we've Googled it many times now, and it does seem like the album has 2 release dates based on what the internet is telling us. The only weird one is that the third date that we came up with was the one that we were so certain we had seen a couple of weeks ago, and now it seems as if it's been erased from the internet, and we're just going down a conspiracy theory rabbit hole right now.
Yeah.
It's just probably the good time to transition to what album is this, Natalia?
So today we are talking about an album that recently I have been so obsessed with. This is HAIM's debut album, Days Are Gone. And this
Ooh.
came out in 2013. We thought it came out today on the 23rd, but apparently it came out either on the 27th or the 30th in 2013.
Yes. No, this album, so this would be its 9th anniversary, 9th year.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, probably next year on the 10 year, I'm sure the band will clear it
Yeah.
up, which is the right date. But yeah, Natalia and I wanted to do an episode about this because we both are pretty big fans of the band. And for the fans who are maybe new, Natalia and I are cousins, and we have an 8-year age gap between us. But it's been interesting because she and I both have such broad music taste that spans decades before we were even born. But this is an interesting one because this album came out in 2013 when I was 18. I was 17. Um, and now Natalia is 19 going on 20, and the HAIM has stayed relevant, and this album is still amazing. So,
Yeah.
any thoughts on that, Natalia?
I think that's just, first of all, a cool little cousin connection that we have. Because, like, I remember texting you when I had discovered this album and, like, asking you if you heard it. And you were like, yeah, like, I was obsessed with this album my freshman year of college. And
Mm-hmm.
at the time I had texted you, I had just finished my freshman year of college. So it was like, that was really cute of us, I have to say.
Yeah. No, it was. It was. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that you had just finished college. Oh. No, I remember being a freshman in my dorm and listening to this album and just thinking it was amazing and honestly really inspiring to have an all-female rock band, pop rock indie alternative, I'd say. Um, and I mean, so many of their songs are just unbelievably catchy. Um, and so just to dive in a little bit more on some background stuff, we have the main members of the band are 3 sisters, Esty, Danielle, and Alana, and they were all born and raised and grew up in the LA area, and they come from a Jewish family, Jewish background, and the name of the band, Haim, means life in Hebrew.
It's their
And
last name also.
and Natalia bringing in a factoid I didn't know, and it's their last name. You know what? That makes so much more sense now.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that. I
I
just thought that
thought
was
you were
their.
joking. I literally thought you were joking.
No, I thought that that was just like a really cool word because they're
Catherine.
Jewish. I Well, it makes sense now because when you read the Wikipedia page, it reads as if it's somebody's last name, but I was like, oh, they're a band, so that's just the name. So that
I'm
just
sorry to put you on blast, but that was really funny.
oh, I'm like, oh, okay, I get
Shocked.
it
I'm
now.
shocked that you didn't know that, but it's okay.
Okay, well,
It's
did you
okay.
know that in the band The Smiths, not a single one of them has the last name of Smith? Okay, it's
That
not
is a
always
surprising fact too.
it's not always as intuitive as you'd think it would be.
All right, I'll give you
But
that.
now I know that if I ever run into one of them, I know what their last name is and I won't be embarrassed. So,
Right.
yes. So, as Natalia let us know, the band is named after their own last name. That's pretty easy. They didn't have to think too hard about what to call themselves.
Nope.
But they have been a musical family with their dad being a drummer in his youth, and then their family having their own little family band for a while where they would do like tribute shows in the area for fun
Yeah, and like
and
weddings and stuff.
weddings, events, community stuff. Um, but then it was around the early 2010s that all the sisters kind of started more aggressively pursuing their music career, which brings us to around 2012 when they had their first EP.
Yep. Yeah. So it sounds like they were, for the most part, like mostly playing live shows for a while because they like really like officially formed the band in 2007 actually, but for a while they were just touring, doing live shows. And then it sounds like they made their EP and they literally put it on their website and people could download it for free. And it was
Mhm.
only 3 songs, and they were really surprised that it actually got a lot of attention
Mhm.
from the music industry and the general public. And this EP had 3 songs on it, Forever, which was the name of the EP, and then
Mhm.
Better Off and Go Slow. And because this EP was so successful, it led to them getting signed to their label, Polydor Records, which they're still signed to this day, but they
Mm.
were signed in June 2012. So let me do the math. This was only 4 months after their EP came out and they got signed. So good for
Wow.
them.
That's amazing. I think that back then in the early 2010s, it was so huge to put your music online. And I mean, it still is to this day important to have your music be online. But that seemed to be like the time where bands were putting stuff up for free on sites that weren't always like Spotify, like
Yeah.
actual just like a website or like Bandcamp or something.
Yeah. Well, music
Um,
streaming back then was not what it is today.
Yeah, there wasn't as much of a way to boost yourself. It was I felt like it was very much chance and lottery style of like, if the right people find your stuff and then share it with their friends, that's what makes it blow up.
Yeah. People were not sure at first that like online music was going to be a thing that was like sustainable. Like,
Mhm.
for all they knew, it could have just been like a fad, but
Mhm.
we know that it was
No.
there to stay.
Oh my gosh, it's almost I feel bad for all my CDs and vinyls that I
Oh my god,
so badly don't listen to as much anymore just because it's so nice at your fingertips to just have Apple Music or Spotify or
seriously. Well, it
anything
is
else like
nice
that.
to have virtually all music in the world at your fingertips,
Mhm.
but then on the other
It is.
hand, it like doesn't sound as good and stuff.
That is true.
There's a
Yeah.
trade-off.
I don't know though, I think I'm a peasant, so it sounds great to me.
No, honestly, yeah, I don't notice the difference until I like go to something good and then come back.
Exactly, exactly. But if I'm, like, on the day-to-day, like, poor person listening quality on Spotify, I wouldn't even know the
Yeah.
difference.
My AirPods do the trick just fine.
Yes, they do. I think they have some kind of built-in, "We make this sound better than it actually is" feature. Um, but okay, but this album though, so let's talk about Days Are so then the album finally comes out, Days Are Gone. I still can see, I mean, obviously I can still see it. I can Google it anytime I want, but I just have this memory of it being like 2013, 2014, and thinking that album looked so cool. And you would go on their Spotify and that was it. There's no like, oh, look at their discography, see their different albums. It was like, that was the one. That was it. There was Days Are Gone. You know, you would go to their top 10 on Spotify and it was like only those songs from that album. And it's the three sisters sitting on like a park bench with a green grass lawn behind them and they all have sunglasses on. And I don't know how you feel about that album cover, but when I was like 18, I thought
To
they looked
me, I
so
have to
cool.
pause. To me, the cover looks like 3 folding chairs, like lawn chairs.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right.
I just had to say that because I agree. I think the cover does look super cool. I love the cover because I think it really encapsulates their vibe perfectly. I think that it just looks so like cool and indie and like that's so HAIM.
I think, yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, indie, I think was like just so, it was like to me, indie was at its peak in like the 2013, 2012. Like, it's funny because like all the clothing that they're wearing in that cover art right now, I don't think would be like,
Oh my god, it's so 2013,
it's so
like in a good
2013.
way.
Yeah, but like they at the time looked amazing. Now I'm like, okay, that look is very like out, but I feel like yeah, they were like height of indie and just seeing like three cool ladies like with this like kind of badass like look on their
I
face.
know my I was young at the time. I was like, how old was I? Like 8
Mm.
or
Yeah, you're young.
no, 10. I can't do the math, but I was like in elementary school when this album came out, and I didn't know, I wasn't aware of this album at the time. Like
Mhm.
I mentioned, I only found it recently, but I know that like had I seen this album cover, I would
Mhm.
have been like, "Oh my god, those girls look so cool." And I would have like wanted to like dress like them cuz I remember in 2014 I had a denim vest, and on the cover,
Oh,
Danielle is wearing a denim vest, and so I just
yeah.
know, like, I would have been so inspired by that.
I think that it's also kind of funny too because you're such a Taylor Swift fan, and I don't think at the time they were friends with her yet, but now the all three sisters are really good friends with Taylor Swift, and you were a Taylor Swift fan, so I feel like it almost makes sense too that you ended up finding this band eventually and getting into them.
Yeah,
And that's
I
the other
I
crazy
agree.
thing. It's been 9 years since this album came out, and yet almost like every song still hits so
Oh
good.
my god, it does.
So again, just we know we made it confusing, but let's make it again. This was released either September 27th or 30th in 2013. And the singles were the songs Forever, Don't Save Me, Falling, The Wire, If I Could Change Your Mind, and My Song 5. Which is funny because almost every single one of those to me are like the best songs. Um, and
Yeah.
then this album ended up doing really well. So many of those songs charted well. And they ended up being nominated for a Grammy. They didn't win, but they got nominated for Best New Artist. And Pitchfork said in 2014 that they think it is in the one of the 100 best albums of the decade so far. And
Oh,
I
I would totally agree with that.
I think so. I think so. It's so hard to say of the decade. Like, I mean, we're the decade's over, right? 2010 to 2020. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe that would be in my top
it would
100.
have been 2010 to 2019. So I think,
Okay.
like, definitely, because definitely out of all of their albums, like, I would say, like, that one is their strongest contender, I think, for,
Mhm.
like, in terms
Oh,
of, like,
yeah.
critical appreciation, like,
And also like
Days Are Gone.
consistency. I think
Yeah,
every song is so different, but yet has the same heart and feeling. And
yeah,
when
the
you listen
album
to
is
the
cohesive,
it's
which is
arranged so
good.
it's cohesive. I feel like it's arranged well because it's like you just go when you listen to the song in the correct listening, it just flows from song to song to song, and
Yeah.
it's like it's an album you could put on when you're getting ready to go out, you're cleaning the house, you're driving in the car. It doesn't matter because there is like that cohesiveness, that
Yes.
consistency, and
I
it's just
listen
like
to it doing all of those things.
same. I was gonna say Natalia recently visited me in New York City, and we were getting ready to go out one day, not even like nightclubbing, but just like out for the day. And it was such a great getting ready album. I almost didn't want to go out because I just wanted to stay
Oh
home
my god,
and
yes, I
like have a
know.
jam karaoke sesh of just dancing around and singing their songs. Because so the lead singer is the sister Danielle, and she just has this powerhouse voice. Um, and you want to sing like her when you're listening to these songs.
I know, I love her. I
Yeah.
love, like, just kind of, like, the little quirks in her voice too, I think.
Mhm.
Like, I love the way that she will sometimes put certain, like, enunciations on, like, a different
Mhm.
part of the word than we're used to hearing, or, like, just the so one thing I think that's important to know about the band that,
Mhm.
like, once you listen to their music, you'll totally notice it. They all of the girls learned to play drums first. For all of them,
Mm.
that was the instrument they learned first, and then their dad would, like, kind of teach them other instruments that he thought would suit them
Mhm.
best. Um,
I
but
didn't know that.
you can really tell when you listen to their music that they just have rhythm just, like, running through them naturally, because
Mhm.
they just know how to, like, make a great beat, and it's just they do really interesting drum patterns. And also the oldest sister, Esty, she has a degree in, I don't wanna mess it up, I think it's,
Ethnomusicology.
yeah, and so I think she specialized in Brazilian music
Mhm.
and Bulgarian music, because I think, like, somewhere distant in their family, they have Bulgarian family, but you
Mhm.
can really hear, like, the sort of, like, global sound, I think. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes sense, but, like, I can hear, like, a lot of different influences in their music,
Mhm. No,
as
I think so too. They
particularly in
use
the instruments, I think.
there's a lot of different like percussion elements rather than maybe just a traditional drum kit. I feel like they add in some other sounds.
Yeah, and I just love that, like, they really, you can tell that they know a lot about music, and they
Mhm.
really put their knowledge to the test, and it is on full display, and, like,
Mhm.
you can really see how talented they are.
Mhm. And I think that so they end up having 2 other albums, and they're still an active band now, um, but like Natalia said, when we were talking about the best albums of the decade and all of that, it's just there's something about this album in particular, and I don't know if it's because when you have your first album, you're a little more daring or you're not jaded by the music industry, or you don't have too many voices maybe influencing you because you're still kind of fresh and new. I'm not sure exactly what it is, what the science is, because I have felt like a lot of my favorite bands, it's usually one of their first albums that to me is just like amazing, so perfect. It's like
Yeah,
their just sound hasn't been influenced yet
yeah,
by
and then
being
it's
around. It's like,
usually pretty hard for them to recreate that most of the time. Very
and I
rare
think
that
that,
someone, like, their success will just, like, continue, or, like, their next album will be better than the last.
mhm. I think, yeah,
Very few.
this was a breakout album. But because of it, I mean, they have had some really great follow-up songs, I would say. And then actually Danielle, we were talking about her voice, she has worked a lot with the band Vampire Weekend. Um, and Vampire Weekend has an album called Father of the Bride, which also is an amazing album. And I think that's partly because Danielle is heavily on that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think she makes that album, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, the
mhm,
songs that she's featured on are definitely the standouts.
mhm. I think it's just she has such a unique voice. And like you said too, it's like because of Essie's, degree in ethnomusicology, they make that unique sound. And honestly, just their energy. I think being sisters and having kind of like that level of communication and also like I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say vibe. That feels a little too new agey. It's like
I mean, they definitely probably understand each other better, like not
mhm,
just as people, but as musicians. Like
mhm,
that is important to like because you can't make good music with somebody that you don't vibe with and like
mhm,
connect well with and feel comfortable with and understand them.
mhm. It's the chemistry. I think they have the chemistry of not just being sisters, but also like friends with each other and like being each
Yeah.
other's friend and I could imagine them just recording and encouraging each other and like celebrating after finishing a recording and being like that was amazing and like I don't know, you just feel good listening to this album. Um and then Natalia and I actually we wrote out what our favorite songs were, which were I think almost the exact same ones.
I want to
Um
know what are your top 3?
it's so hard. So we definitely both have the same top 5. Um It's tricky because I'll listen to one and be like, "Oh, this is amazing." But then I'll switch to, like, the next one and be like, "Wait, this one is, like, amazing." And then I'll play the next one and it's over. I think that lately, since I've in the last month or 2 been listening to them a lot again, I'm surprised at that the song "If I Could Change Your Mind," that's the 4th on the album, that one I'd put in my top 3. I feel like I'm listening to it again with like new ears because I'm 9 years older now from when I first heard this album. And it's not an album that I don't think I've been like hardcore listening to this album often for the last 9 years, but I listened to Haim here and there over the last 9 years. But in preparation for this episode, I feel like I really started listening again. And it was like, yeah, the song If I Could Change Your Mind really came back to me. Um, and then, oh my gosh, it is so hard to decide because I feel like I almost need to like hear them again to be like, oh, this one or that one. But maybe
It
like
definitely
don't,
depends on the mood for sure, like
yeah.
with how much the song will like hit.
Hmm. I
I
would say
totally agree. I love If I Could Change Your Mind. It like makes me want to dance. It's so
so
catchy and like
good.
it's like a perfect pop song in my opinion,
Mhm.
and it is like a crime to me that this wasn't playing on radio stations everywhere in
I
2013.
know more of their music really should have been on radio, but I think at the time they were considered more indie, not
Yeah.
pop enough to be on a main radio.
Yeah. And I think they were a little bit more famous in the UK than they were in America. So like
Oh yeah.
maybe
Natalia, what was
if
that
we have
factoid
any
you found?
oh yeah, well sometimes I go on Spotify and I will find Haim in these like Spotify generated playlists that are like UK indie music or stuff like that, and it's like
Hmm.
Haim is not British. They're from LA and they're very proud of it, but their label Polydor is a British label, and I think that might be why it happens.
Hmm.
But if we have any British listeners, let us know. Did you hear Haim a lot on the radio in 2013, 2014? I really
If
want to know.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if that's the case, then Natalia and I should be in England right now because I wanna if they were playing Haim on the radios in 2013, I wanna know what they're playing on the radios now because
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes a lot of the stuff in America is just your generic pop crap that's I would say 1 in every 20 songs is, like, actually amazing, or really, really deserves to be there, but well, you know what? We're not radio hosts, we can't control it. Natalia, what are your top 3 songs?
Okay. Mine are so my number one favorite is actually the song where the album gets its name from, Days Are Gone. And this
Mm,
song, even though the album was named after it, it doesn't have that many like listens. It was never released as a single or anything, but I really like it. It's different than your typical HAIM song because
Mhm.
for the most part, Danielle sings lead vocals, and I would say like 90% of HAIM songs, but this
Mhm.
one, Esty is actually singing lead vocals, which I think is just a cool change of pace. And she sounds more like Danielle than their other sister Alana does, but
Mhm.
Esty still does have a pretty unique voice, and I like her voice. And
Mm.
I just like the lyrics of the song too. They really resonate with me. But my next
Mhm.
favorite song is If I Could Change Your Mind. I love that
Yes.
song. I could
So
rave about
good.
it forever. And I just remembered another factoid about it. Apparently in 2014, it was like the most Shazammed like
Oh, really?
rock song of that year.
That's crazy. I mean, we understand why. Shazam doesn't need to convince us on that. We understand. I can just hear that, like, as we're having this conversation in the back of my mind, I can just hear Danielle singing the "If I Could Change Your Mind." Okay, that's
I would hit the
sorry,
floor
listeners.
running.
It's just so good. Okay, and then what's your last one?
My last one is another single, Don't Save Me. I
That's on
know
my
you
top
like
3 as
this one
well.
too, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that
so
one's
good.
so good. Okay, so as it's pretty obvious to our listeners, but we might as well ask, Natalia, would you recommend this album to other people? And then second question, what are your thoughts on following Haim into the future?
Okay. I totally think that people should listen to this album. And then I also have to say, if you don't like this album, I think that you should still not give up on Haim because I think their subsequent albums, I think, were there's a lot that stayed the same, but there was a significant enough change that like it is a different sound, I would say. Like
Mm,
their third album is like really like California, like Sheryl Crow vibes to me.
mm. I think more
Like
experimental too. They do a
different
lot of different
yeah,
sounds.
it's a different vibe than Days Are Gone. And so I think if Days Are Gone doesn't do it for you, which that will amaze me and I
How
will
could
think
it not?
something's wrong with you. But if that doesn't float your boat, I think try their other albums. And even if I think you don't like Haim, if it's not for you, like I think you'll still be able to appreciate them and their talent.
Hmm.
And I personally am really excited. I don't know, they haven't said anything about releasing another album, but I am like
Hmm.
waiting for the second they announce their fourth album. I really want to hear new music from them. I can't wait.
I I think it's gonna happen. I feel like how could it not happen? They're still really young. Their last album was in 2022 or 2020. It's now 2022. I can feel it. It's
Yeah,
something is coming.
I feel like it could be because so they're wrapping up their tour for like their most recent album, Women in Music Part 3, and like they're on their tour right now and I think they're about to finish the North America leg and they're going to Australia. And then I'm sure when they finish this tour, like I'm sure they've been writing songs and I'm sure they're going to
Mhm.
announce something like probably definitely like early 2023. I'm betting we're going to hear a new album announcement from Haim.
Mhm. Well, we will be looking forward to it. All of your recommendations and review, I agree 100%. I think that this is an amazing album. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't heard it. Um, and again, if you don't like this one, there's a good chance you might like their other ones because they're such different sounds. Um, but please check out Days Are Gone. Let us know what you think and any comments. Tag us on our socials. We have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can let us know what you think on in the YouTube comments. And along with that, please, like or rate or review this podcast. Let us know if there's any other albums you think that we should be listening to, because we've been telling you guys what we think you should listen to, but maybe we should take some suggestions from
Yeah.
fans. So
I need to hear new stuff. I'm very open to suggestions.
yes, Natalia and I, we have open ears. We'll give anything a try. We ask the same in return. So with that, I think that's the end.
Yep, I think that wraps it up. And
All
we'll
right.
see you guys next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
The Bandwagon Fan Podcast is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Melgosa, and me, AJ Soy. Our show is produced by Katé Smith and edited by your boy, AJ. Our social media is managed by Natalia Katé, and our theme song, Lush Waves, is provided to us by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.